Hey, welcome to Tea Time with Keneisha. Today's tea is brought to you by Tivana. I'm drinking the Tivana mint, and it's just hot water and regular mint tea. I don't have no sugar, no agave, no honey, no nothing. I actually enjoy it like that. Today is a special day, I guess you would say. I'm got my popcorn because we're gonna do story time. Um, I think story time, we telling people stories, so I figured let me just go ahead and do a story time and just talk about some of the things that's going on in my world, in my life, so you guys can kind of get an idea of why the direction of the Get Faded show has changed and where it's going. So I'm going to talk about, I guess I've been on a spiritual journey. The spiritual journey has been probably for like a year and a half. I think I'm going to say I noticed back in January of 2021. I'm sorry, not January, in June of 2021. I kind of like, I think it was a spiritual awakening. I'm gonna say 2021 was definitely the beginning phases. It probably was before that, if I'll be honest with myself, but I didn't start understanding and realizing what was going on until probably 2021. So during 2021, I was prospecting with the Rough Riders, a club, and actually I have been in the motorcycle community for damn near my whole life, like my entire life. Softball games when my dad was young. When I was younger, my dad was involved in the community, so they played softball, going to the events and things. And I've always had a love of motorcycles and just being involved in the community. I have met some of my best friends in this community, some people that I'm really fond of and love ride. I did make a promise that I was not going to ride myself until my youngest child turned 18, which was in 2022. So 2021, I was actually getting excited and ready for where we were going as far as just being able to ride and everything like that. So DMX had passed away, and he is like probably one of the most famous rough riders. And as a chapter, we decided that some people were going to go down to Maryland. They had a ride. They did the big ride in New York City, but we went to Maryland, and it was an experience that was like my first big experience, like with being a rough rider. So with that day, I it was during Ramadan, and at the time my best friend and I were like he was Muslim, and I would do Ramadan with him from 19, I think it was like 19, I'm sorry, not 19, 2018, I believe it was like either 18 or 19, 2018 to 2019. We started I started doing Ramadan with him. I can't remember when, but it had been some years that every Ramadan I would fast and everything with him for support, actually. So that's where I started at, with supporting him through his fast. And this particular year, I was not feeling up to par with the fast, but I didn't know. Like, I was just like, I was tired, a lot of tiredness. I was having cramps in my hands. I have severe carpal tunnel. So just typing would hurt, and I was just tired, but I didn't know. Like, I just thought that it was like I was doing a lot at that point in time. So we get to Maryland. We're there. We get, we're at they had like a ride, and like, it was like a bunch of people. I met a lot of people. I was prospecting. I got my shirt signed. It was like a whole lot going on that, it was just a great day. And then we had, on the way in, we had saw this little chicken shack, and in the chicken shack, we decided that we were going to stop to get something to eat. Now, mind you, it's still Ramadan, so I called my best friend and see what he wanted. I called the kids to see what they wanted. I ordered my food, and we were on our way to come back home. And I remember vividly asking one of my the girls that was with me, I'll say sister now because they're all, but at that point in time we were prospecting together, and she baked cakes. And I'm like, I had never heard of Black Forest cheesecake before at that point in time. So I'm like, what's Black Forest cheesecake? I don't even know if I really asked her, to be honest with you. I remember looking at it and like, oh, well, I got the baker here with me right now. Like, you can't get no better than that to find out, like, what is the Black Forest. And then my next question to her, because she had been baking the cakes for me for a minute prior to us prospecting together, like, you're my favorite baker, or one of my favorite bakers. Like, she's been one of my favorite bakers for years. So I'm asking her about it. And the next thing I remember is somebody asking me, he was like, do you know what year we're in? And I'm like, we was talking about cake, what the fuck? So needless to say, I passed out. My brother that was with me, he said I was heavy. He grabbed me and put me into the car. They called 911. And I don't know how long I was out for, but it was long enough for me to, one, be embarrassed, because somehow down the line I wet myself. I peed on myself. I completely passed out. In me passing out, I don't remember too much of anything that was happening there, but I remember not being in my body, and I honestly thought that I was somewhere else, but my best friend was with me. So when I came to, we were coming back to New Jersey. I didn't want to call my kids because I knew for a fact that they were going to be bugging out because I wasn't near them. I was like far away from them, and they kept saying like, we're not gonna call because we know that they're gonna be bugging. Okay, so needless to say, I get back. I didn't want to go to the doctor, but of course that they made me go to the doctor. So that was on a Saturday. That Sunday I went to the doctor. They did a whole bunch of blood work at the doctor's office. They gave me some fluids and told me to go home. They'll if I didn't feel any better, go to the ER. That's what they told me. So I'm like, all right, but I felt fine. I didn't feel bad. I'm like, all right, they bugging, because at this point I felt fine. It was just a little tired, but not tired like, oh, let me go take a nap or anything like that. So I'm just like, all right, I'm fine. I feel fine. Life is going to go on. And then that was on a Sunday. That Monday morning early, the doctor called me and told me to get straight to the ER, that my potassium levels, they did the blood work and my potassium levels were dangerously low. And that's why I passed out. So with that, I went to the ER and they checked my potassium level again, which was absolutely dangerously low. My potassium was at a level 2, which... was that the iron? The iron was there too. The iron was at a 2. The potassium was, I believe, at a 2 as well. And then the magnesium. So my iron, my magnesium, and my potassium levels were all very low. But the potassium level, I'm anemic, so I expected the iron levels to be low. I didn't expect the potassium to be low or the magnesium to be low. So with that, they admitted me to the hospital right then and there and did a whole bunch of tests to try to figure out why my levels were so low, because it was my iron, my magnesium, and my potassium very low. So they did a series of tests and the potassium level did not increase. They did the IV drip. I did liquid potassium, IV, and they were doing the potassium, magnesium. I had needles in both arms so that they could do them simultaneously. It was the craziest thing that I ever experienced. During that time, I was in the hospital. I realized like my heart rate, that's where we realized that my heart rate was low, because the potassium is needed in order to regulate your heart. My heart was beating at 22 beats per minute. And I had no idea. I didn't know that it was beating like that. Like, I felt fine. Everything felt fine. Everything felt great. And it's crazy because during the whole time of being in the hospital, like I talked to my kids. The reception in the hospital was awful. So like to duo them, I'm a Droid user, so I used to duo at the time. They would duo me or try to call me, but the reception in there was like, the service was awful. It wasn't really that good in the hospital. So I had nothing but time to really like think. And during that time, I was already feeling like I was in a place of like 100% peace. I was working at a job that I absolutely loved. I was making a decent salary, and I was working